Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drop Lob Pod. We have plenty to talk about with you guys today. Week one of the Australian Open coming to a close. Plenty of storylines, and I'm sure plenty of opinions from my co-host, Edic. Edic, you ready to drop some hot takes about the AO?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about with week one of the Australian Open. Not that many upsets. It's been a pretty favorite heavy draw on both sides. We haven't really seen like Djokovic still there, Sinner, Alcaraz, Iga, Elena Rybakina, Sabalenka, Maddie Keys, the defending champion on the women's side. We've got Anna Samova on the women's side. We've got Taylor Fritz still in on the men's. Casper Ruud. Pretty much every top seed has survived the first three, 4 rounds of the tournament. Do you think that that makes for a more interesting major, or do you prefer a major where there are just lots of upsets in the early rounds?
I prefer what's going on right now with the seeded players winning. Obviously, when there are upsets in the early rounds, it makes for great storylines. But as you progress and get later into the tournament, having all of these seeds, especially on the men's side, it makes for better matchups. So, we're really going to see the best against the best. And I'm looking forward to those matchups in the quarters and further.
I agree. I definitely think that the luxury of getting those really blockbuster matchups later in the tournament is worth maybe a little bit less upset and intrigue early on. And obviously, there's still a storyline or two here and there. Jannik Sinner did face a little bit of trouble in his third round match against the American out of University of Texas, Elliot Spizzirri, world number 85 right now, bound to raise a little bit more after this tournament, but. He won the first set against Sinner. He broke him 3 times. Sinner was looking to be struggling a little bit. Kind of teetered with a lead in the second set, up a break 1-0. Yannick did his thing, fought back. Set three came around. Spizzirri took another lead with a 3-1 break. Sinner seemed to be suffering some pretty severe cramps, almost full body, which for any athlete or person that's experienced that, you quite literally can't play through that. It often sends people to the hospital. And then, and seemingly completely legitimately, a heat warning came into effect right at that moment, which was obviously what was causing Sinner, one of the most fit athletes in the world, assumedly, to have those cramps, and gave him a nice 20-minute break to recover. Did you think that Sinner was going to lose at any point during that match? And how did you feel about that heat rule coming into effect right at that moment? And I will also toss in there that I did, in fact, think that he might be about to lose at that moment. He looked pretty bad.
This is a very complex situation. The first thing I'm going to say is I have personal experience with full body cramps at the Geneva tournament in Florida. I lost 5-6 or 6-5, and I ended up going to the hospital because of full body cramps. I've struggled with it in the past, and people like Jack Sock and people like Sinner have said before, cramps can be obviously a lot of it is mental. I don't really think it comes down to fitness all of the time because Sinner is one of the most fit guys on the tour, and you see people that are. I mean, Alcaraz was having trouble with cramps a couple years ago at the French Open versus Djokovic. So I don't think it comes down to fitness. It's a little bit genetic as well. And what I can tell you is often you can get through them. I have had cramps before and they have not become full body cramps. And then, after a set or so, I've recovered from it. So I think that he was going to lose the third set regardless. You heard Darren Cahill basically saying to just bag the third set and get that 10-minute, break for the heat index. So I think if the roof hadn't closed, he would have lost the third set, and potentially he would have recovered during those 10 minutes and won the fourth and fifth set. Of course, because of the roof closing, he was able to get an extended break and recover and win that third set, and then get another break after the 10 minutes between the third and fourth set and win the fourth set. So did he get lucky? Absolutely. Is it his fault? It's not his fault. Do I think they should have these heat index rules? No, I don't. I don't like the heat index rules at all. And I think that tennis is a war of attrition. It is who is able to handle the conditions better. And obviously, health and safety, I understand that. But personally, I'm a purist, and I think that they should just have to play through it, if I'm being quite honest. And in that case, Spizzirri probably would have won the match. And ultimately, Sinner goes through, and we'll see how he progresses. But, cramps are an interesting thing, and, we'll see what's to come.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agreed. And I don't think Sinner should be facing too many issues against his countryman, Luciano Darderi, next round. One of the guys that my fall off predictions were admittedly terrible this year. Did not think he would do great. He's into the fourth round. Dominant performance against Karen Kachanov last round. 16 aces, four doubles, four-set victory. Very impressive, relatively unexpected. Um, but that being said, Elliot Spizzirri did come into his post-match interview and say something pretty similar to what you said, to the extent of he understands the heat rule, and he laughed a little bit when it happened just because of the irony of the timing of it, but that he 100% doesn't blame like Sinner the tournament, like he understands the rules of the rules. And people called him a sore loser and said he was making excuses for that. I don't view it that way. I don't know if you got to see the presser. I thought it was pretty respectful and pretty straightforward. I find it very interesting just how the general public or like fans will spin certain narratives just when hearing things. Wasn't sure if you saw that or if you found his comments to be respectful or maybe a little bit like salty, as people would say.
I did see the press conference, and I thought he spoke very well, and he
Yeah.
shouldn't be receiving that backlash, because he was able to handle the elements. And the other day I was watching the NFL playoffs, and I saw the guys on the sideline getting IVs and getting oxygen masks. I'm like, oh my God, that's so soft. Like that would never happen in tennis. Imagine like Djokovic getting an oxygen mask like on the sidelines. So then when we have these heat rules and we get these 10-minute breaks, like that's soft, I want tennis to be the sport that's like, the hardest. And with these 10-minute breaks, that's just like giving people a chance to be like, oh, well, you get a 10-minute break, and I want tennis to be represented as the toughest athlete. So that's why I don't like it. But there's a lot of gray area with the IVs. Obviously, Max Purcell had an issue and he's being suspended right now with the IVs. So I don't really like what's going on with all of it. And it's just too many fishy things right now with IVs and steroids, if I'm being quite honest.
Interesting take. Definitely want to look more into that. I'm probably not.
Everybody's on steroids.
Clip that. Clip that. So moving on, we've got the Australian, the home crowd favorite, Alex de Minaur, a guy that we both said incredibly athletic, incredibly solid, the type of guy that can beat everyone below him and struggles with everyone above him. Pretty much done his thing once again. He's only dropped one set to Hamad Medvedev. First set 7-6, dominated the three sets after that, dominated three sets against Francis Tiafoe, absolutely dogged Alexander Bublik here in the last round. Um, he's played Carlos Alcaraz many times. He had a match point in the first match that they played back on red clay in 2021 or 2022, I believe. I still remember watching that match. Alcaraz with an unreal match point save in that match on the run passing shot. And ever since then, don't believe he's lost to Alex since maybe once. Two guys that are very, very athletic. And really, the difference for me comes down to the fact that Carlos just has more firepower off of all wings, and can match closely or as closely as possible with de Minaur's athleticism. But Alex looks great. Do you think he has any shot at beating Carlos or at least taking maybe two sets off him, making it close? Or do you think it'll just be business as usual with Alcaraz showing de Minaur why he can't beat the players above him?
So Alex looks great, and I think what we should be talking about here is just the insane amount of levels there are in men's tennis. People don't understand this. The top player in NCAA, Michael Zhang right now, is an incredible tennis player, but he's about 15 to 20 levels below the number one player in the world. So, for example, de Minaur crushes Bublik, masterful performance. And then, like you said,
Yeah,
Alcaraz is about to dog him in this next round.
I'd
There's
agree.
so many levels. And then on the other side, you have Zverev, who just took down Cerundolo. Cerundolo just crushed Rublev and then gets crushed by Zverev, who is eventually going to get crushed by Alcaraz, probably. There are so many levels in men's tennis, which is why it is such a hard sport because the gap in between the top player and the next player is big, but that player, Alex, is so good. So, yeah,
He
he
is.
has a great tournament, but he's going to get crushed by Carlos.
And speaking of players like that, because I categorize Tommy Paul pretty similarly. I watched Tommy Paul last night. He was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. He was destroying his first serve accurately, holding with ease 80% of the games. He was being aggressive. He was hitting his spots. And Carlos Alcaraz was just better at tennis. Like Tommy Paul looked like a guy that if you showed me him, I'd say, yeah, that guy's won a major before. And Alcaraz didn't lose a set to him. Like
Right.
he's just better.
Yep.
It is interesting, and it's probably not even always 100% levels because like Bublik beat Deminor at the French Open last year. And like some of these guys have competed against some of these other guys beating them, but there's also so many contrasting styles, which is part of what I think makes tennis such a great sport, is that singles specifically in tennis there are so many different styles and so many different varieties of guys that hit hard, hit soft. They work off movement, they work off serve, they work off return, off being aggressive at the net with volleys, lobs, topspin, flat. That any guy can give some other guy trouble and then invite in return get smacked by a different type of player. And
Yeah.
speaking of a guy giving a different type of player trouble, there is a player that's well known for just being a defensive master. He stands by the fence. He hits everything hard. He gets to every ball. He's been called the octopus before because it feels like he has 8 arms working for him, Daniil Medvedev. And there is another player from America, a lefty who's very consistent, uses angles very well, is very crafty strategically, who absolutely just owns his existence. Lerner Tien coming out last night with a 6-3, 6-0, 6-4 victory against Daniil. Now, Daniil has stated publicly that he struggles with Lerner Tien's game. Did you get to see any of that match? Because I will admit that that was a little bit past my bedtime, and I did have a feeling Lerner might win, but I absolutely did not expect 7 total games out of Daniil Medvedev. What did you see out of that match? And also, Leonard Tien is a fucking dog.
So I seen the match and very impressive by Leonard Tien. But I wouldn't jump on the train yet because, as you said, the matchup is just very tough for Medvedev. Of course, they had a lot closer battles last year, but he was just coming off of a 2 sets to love down comeback. Tien has been rolling, is fresh. And I think it was just a combination of everything there. And of course, he looked amazing. I believe he won, at least 10 games in a row at one point. And, that's incredible against someone like Medvedev, obviously a Grand Slam champion. I'm not going to make a prediction on Tien versus Zverev. I'm not going to make a prediction. But again, I would just be careful with Tien. He's an amazing player. He does everything well. But I just go back to the weapons. He just doesn't have that big of weapons to really win a Grand Slam. And I just be careful because I think the Medvedev matchup is a really good one for him. And if I just add real quick, when you had such great insights about how the matchups and how some people Bublik beat Diminor last year, and with the Tommy Paul thing, you see the match with Tommy Paul and Alcaraz, right? And we talk about the levels.
It was unreal.
It's only like a few little things that Alcaraz does better, right? Only a few little things, but it
Yeah,
makes such a big difference to the point where like Tommy Paul's never gonna beat him type difference, right? In a Grand Slam, but it's such a small detail,
it
things.
is.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
the number one thing that I'd say personally, and you're welcome to agree or disagree, is that those top Alcaraz and Sinner, they just make you see an extra ball. They just every single time they play, it's the combination. It's what made Novak Djokovic become the greatest of all time. And we can't also forget that he is lurking there. I think that with his recent performances against Alcaraz, against Sinner, it's relatively fair to count him out of contention to win this major. But at the end of the day, you do never know. He is around. But what makes, in my opinion, those top three guys just the best, their movement is phenomenal. Their footwork is flawless. They get to every ball. They get their front foot forward into every ball, and they just put it into the court. Usually with depth, usually with pacing, usually angled in a good spot, but they just make sure to make as little errors as they possibly can and just continue to make UC balls. And even Tommy Paul, a guy that's so fast, so athletic, takes the ball so aggressively. I just watched him shank the crap out of a couple balls, like into the stands, just into the bottom of the net, because Alcaraz would just wear him down in rallies and just make sure that ball kept coming back in play. And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like that's what Leonard Tan is doing this tournament as well. And it's what's getting him so far. And it's what's going to ultimately make him lose to an Alcaraz, to a Sinner, if he sees them, if he can get past Zverev. I have Zverev going to the finals in my bracket. I'm going to take Zverev in that match, but I do think that obviously that could be like a 6 hour, 5 set grindathon just because Alexander Zverev gets so tight and so standoffish. But yeah, the only difference between an Alcaraz and a Sinner and a guy like Tien is just the ability to finish a point. But it seems like in the majors and those 5 setters where they're going deep, where it's such a mental battle, the guy that just makes you see an extra ball every single point is what prevails. And that's also, I think, real quick, what makes Coco Gauff a two-time champion on the women's side. A player that's second serve is atrocious. Her forehand is, in my opinion, arguably mediocre, but she's an incredible athlete and she just gets the ball and puts it back in play and she doesn't get tired and she just wears down her opponents. So
Yeah.
I think that in majors that becomes super valuable. The mental aspect becomes super valuable. Those
Right.
players that can put that together
Yeah.
have an advantage.
Great insights. Couldn't agree more. And it's not only just getting to the ball, and this is mostly for Sinner and Alcaraz. It's not only getting to the ball, but it's what they do with that shot in compromising positions. Like Diminar, extremely fast. Monfils, in his heyday, extremely fast. But the type of ball that they're giving, they're being offensive in extremely defensive situations, is what they are. And that's extremely impressive body control, hand manipulation. And every single time Alcaraz gets drop shotted, unless he's being cheeky, he comes up and hits over top of it. That's what I teach everybody. If you get drop shotted, you got to come to the net and hit over top that shot. Tommy Paul usually gets up there and slices. Zverev always runs up to a drop shot and bunts it back with the continental grip. So what they're doing on the run is so incredible.
I've seen that. I've seen that. Yeah, I do get what you're saying. What he's saying is yes, they come over the ball, they hit it hard, they make it difficult for their opponent. And yes, I will go back and agree with you 100% that what makes them incredible, and especially Novak, who can just do a freaking full split into any ball like on the run and maintain balance, is that they can turn any shot that should be defense back into offense against you. So you've never really won the point. And not allowing people to win easy points, not allowing people to have that last ball. Huge. And we were going to discuss Zverev. It seems like we kind of just did. We'll flip to the women's side for a second, which I know that you are an avid WTA fan, and I also keep up as well. Sabalenka, she's kind of floundered a little bit, like in a couple sets against Potapova, there against Mboko, but relatively speaking, the reigning runner-up and champion the year before, pretty dominant in the Australian Open. She's looking pretty insane besides a couple lapses at the end of matches. Is she still your clear favorite right now to win the Australian Open?
She looks great. I don't know if I'd say favorite because, WTA, anybody can win. I think there's probably still five or six ladies in that draw that can win. Yeah,
So we'll discuss those in a minute.
yeah, she looks good. She looks good. I really don't have many notes other than the fact that she looks good.
I think she's playing great as well. And as I mentioned before, we have Rybakina still in the draw. We have Iga Świątek still in the draw. We have Coco Gauff still in the draw. We have, although I don't really view her winning the whole tournament, but we have Alina Svitolina, a player that has given a lot of these top players troubles in individual matches in this draw still. Um, with all of these top players still hanging around, we have the two-time major finalist from last year, Amanda Anisimova, still in the draw. We have plenty of threats, plenty of weapons. We have last year's reigning Australian Open champion, Madison Keys, in the draw. We have multiple-time major finalists whose dad is assumedly disappointed in her, Jessica Pegula, in the draw. That's a remark to him saying that the Bills, the team that he owns, he said that the coach was a failure because he only makes the playoffs every year and never wins it, much like his daughter in tennis. But we have pretty much everyone that you'd find interesting besides my girl Mira Andreeva? I know you hate, and I know you don't. Anyway, we'll talk about it later on. We even have Iva Jovic, one of my predictions to be a big rise in the draw. But who do you see as the biggest threat to Sabalenka at the moment? I know you mentioned in previous podcasts Elena Rybakina, multiple time major champion this year, was one of your bold predictions. Is it her? Is it Iga? Or is it Coco? I'll leave the rest out for now.
It's definitely Elena. It's definitely Elena. She's had a pretty easy draw, has come through unscathed. I think that she can get through somebody like Iga and Keys, Pegula. They have to go through each other. So I really like where Elena is at right now. Number two, I'd probably put Amanda just because of her confidence level, her ball striking ability. It's hot down there, so the ball is going through the court much quicker. And I know that you mentioned, well, first of all, I want to just thank personally Alina Svitolina, my girl, for taking out Mira Andreeva. Thank God I don't have to watch her play anymore. Two young players that I want to talk about real quick. I know you're going to ask me. Victoria Mboko, sorry. She's phenomenal. Love her. Great attitude, mentally great, has the backing of the Canadian Federation. I know she lost versus Sabalenka, but
No, the ball striking, man.
unbelievable. Her match against Clara
Insane.
Towson, she had match points in the second set, and she lost that set, and she came back and won the third set, which I always think is one of the hardest things to do in tennis.
Yeah.
Her strokes are sweet. She has weapons. I could see her
Yes.
winning a Grand Slam because she's an aggressive player that can win points.
Backhand
Uh,
down the line, brother. Backhand down the
Unbelievable.
line. I love
And
to
then
watch it.
obviously Iva Jovic, we've talked about her. She beat my girl Yulia Putintseva, who
How many times did Yulia hold serve in that match, by the way?
so Yulia
It,
beat
it seems pretty similar to a goose egg, I think. It was zero, right? She lost 6-0, 6-1.
for those who didn't see, Yulia beat a Turkish player in the last round and had a very interesting celebration because the Turkish fans were being very obnoxious. And that's how tennis is. One day you're up, the next day you're down, but she is back on the rise. My girl is doing better this year. But anyway, Iva Jovic, extremely impressive. I'll give you credit for calling her out. She is a product of flawless technique. I was talking about this with my doubles partner from Loyola, Matt Cardano. She stays through the strike zone longer than anybody I've seen on the WTA. So her swing, if you imagine a corridor, I always teach people, swing through the corridor. Her swing stays so long out to, the court that she stays in the strike zone for so long, like a baseball player, you know, and her strokes are extremely clean. She's not that tall, but she's just efficient with her energy and her movement. Will she lose to Sabalenka? Yeah, most likely. But man, if I was buying stock between her and Victoria, I'd still pick Victoria, but she's a close second. Really
I
impressive. What a sweet girl.
I would pick Victoria, and I'd also add that as a former avid challenger tennis bettor, ITF, whatever, I did happen to watch a match between them in late 2024 on indoor courts, where Eva was a pretty big favorite. Victoria was unknown, and Victoria absolutely annihilated her.
There you go.
Absolutely. Eva was dominating the tour. Victoria hit straight through her the entire match. It was miserable for my bank account. It was miserable for my eyes. In retrospect, I understand what happened now. But Victoria,
But
yeah,
what great people. Like they smile, they have
no, no,
fun.
no, they're
And
good faces. The
you know what they
WTA,
are not? They are not brats.
you're gonna complain about Mira
Like
now. We can
Mira,
skip it. We can skip it. We can
excuse me.
skip it.
They are not brats like Mira Cry Ava is what I
Well,
call her.
to be fair, we should also mention that Coco Gauff is still freaking 21 years old, man, which is absolutely unreal to think about. I feel like she's been in the spotlight for ages, two major titles, very good attitude for the most part. Super friendly, super nice. And yeah, I mean, she looked terrible 2 weeks ago. She got destroyed by Jessica Bustos Maniero, like 6-1, 6-7, 6-0. Turns around, beats the crap out of Iga in straight sets, comes to the Australian Open, looking good. Lost the first set to fellow American Haley Baptiste 6-3, in which she had zero winners to Haley's 11, and then turns around, makes a huge adjustment in the next couple sets, Haley Baptiste Fitness, kind of known for not being the best, and Coco just ran her from side to side until she basically died. Won 6-0, 6-3 those next two sets. It's always impressive to see what Coco Gauff does when major time comes around. And as I said, I hate watching her forehand, I hate watching her second serve. To be perfectly honest, watching her game pains my eyeballs. But god damn it, she isn't the best athlete on the WTA tour, and arguably by a decent margin. She's hard to knock out, and I think that she's got a chance again, major number three here.
So, couple things on that. Yeah, Coco looks good. I was having a conversation again with my boy Matt, and we were talking about how, in my personal opinion, and we're getting sort of into the weeds of it here, high level tennis talk, but Coco Gauff. So Jessica Pegula is a better tennis player than Coco Gauff.
A lot of players are better tennis players than Coco
A
Gauff.
lot of players.
But
But
Coco Gauff is an incredible athlete, and she is a
yep,
freaking warrior, and she makes the adjustments when she needs to make those adjustments. She does not give up in matches. She fights until the last point, unless she's double faulting 30 times on a given day, which kind of just
right,
happens at random.
right. So so Jessica Pegula and others are better tennis players than Coco Gauff, but
Patty
Coco Gauff
Hughes.
is a better competitor. And you talked about athleticism. I'm just going to say this real quick because it's a bigger conversation. But personally, I think there's three different categories: athleticism, movers, and defenders. I think Coco Gauff is the best defender on the
Yes,
WTA tour.
agreed.
I think Marta Kostyuk is the best athlete and is the most athletic on the WTA tour. She can do splits, she can get the balls, etc., etc. And I think that Iga is the best mover on the WTA tour based on getting to shots, specific Dave Bailey type moves that you use. So
Shout out
these are
Dave Bailey,
small
USTA
nuances.
footwork legend.
These are small nuances, but mover, defender, and athleticism are completely different things. But yeah, shout out Coco
No,
Gauff.
I love that. I love that breakdown, and I would agree. Coco is the best defender. You are not hitting winners unless you're Haley Baptiste, who just bludgeons the ball until she gives up. Um, you're not hitting that many winners against Coco Gauff usually, and she did just give Karolina Muchova, who's probably a top five tennis player in terms of talent, in my opinion, the WTA, absolute hell in the fourth round. 5-0 against her now, dropped her first set ever to Muchova, came through in the third pretty soundly. Um, yeah, she's just those players that just come in and aggressively strike the ball. It's what's happened to Sabalenka in both majors they've played. She just defends. She gets the balls, she puts them back in play. And to be honest, I think that's probably somewhat of the difference between the WTA and ATP Tour. She doesn't really even put the balls back in play that aggressively. She just simply lands them in the court and it does the job. It's all she needs to do. It gives Iga nightmares. I mean, Iga can't beat her anymore, and Iga's such an aggressive and offensive player. So yeah. That being said, I'm still not taking Coco to win the tournament. I'm taking my Queen Sabalenka. But I'm super excited to watch these quarterfinals on the women's side. I think it's anyone's game. Uh, I'm still gonna be sticking with the Sabalenka and the Sinner predictions. Any changes in your side, given everything you've seen so far?
No changes.
Okay, that's fair. And then lastly,
Dinner
I'll
and
I'll toss
Lakers.
a quick bone to a part of tennis that I'm not a fan of because I can't volley to save my life. When I come to the net, I am incompetent and lost. Um, Doubles does still exist. So we'll go one storyline on the men's doubles side, one storyline on the women's doubles side. Men's doubles side, we had Nick Kyrgios, we had Tanasi Kokonakis, both withdrew from singles contention for a wild card from the federation, anything of that sort. Said they wanted to focus on doubles, took an early exit. Tanasi's come back from an incredibly gruesome and uh, just time-consuming leg injury. Nick the same with his wrist. Are either of them ever going to return to any sort of their former glory? And if they can't get anything going this season, should one or both of them hang up the metaphorical cleats, in your opinion?
Sorry, who are we talking about?
Nick Kyrgios and Tanasi Kokonakis.
Who's that?
Okay, that answers my question.
Never heard of him.
Answers my question right there. That would be called sarcasm for everybody watching. Edic is calling them bums, saying that he does not believe in their skills. I love watching them. I think they're very talented players. I think they're very skilled. They were the Australian Open doubles champions back in the 2021 season. Um, but first round exit, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to Jason Kubler and Mark Paulmans. Mark Paulman's taking it so unseriously. He was on Instagram saying that if people liked his posts enough, he would serve underhand against them. Still managed to turn out. Kubler, a former Australian Open doubles champion himself, but I assume that your answer is that they should in fact hang it up, and you don't think they have much left in the tank. He's not even going to speak words on it. He's nodding to agree for those that don't have video on. So Edic doesn't even think it's worth the time of day. Sometimes actions speak louder than words. Going into the women's side, I believe it's something I may have discussed once on the podcast before, but if not, we've got Katerina Siniakova playing with Taylor Townsend. They're the one seed for doubles on the women's side, won multiple Grand Slams together already in their short year and a half partnership. Siniakova, over 10 major titles as a doubles player. Is she, by category, the most dominant player on the women's tour? And do you expect her and Townsend to add another trophy to the case here at the Australian Open?
They're obviously the favorites. Love them. Love both of them. Siniakova, great doubles player. And yeah, she's probably the best right now. I mean, there's a few others. Sigamond is really strong. Obviously, Townsend. You have Krejcikova when she plays, Irani. So, women's doubles is fantastic. And you can really learn a lot from watching women's doubles. It's just such a joy to watch. And yeah, I mean, I hope to see them win. I'm a big fan. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you call Siniakova the most dominant player of the last 5 years if we include doubles, last 10 even, post
No,
Serena?
no, because Irani has a lot of slam finals. Of course, she was playing with Roberta Vinci before, and then she started playing with Paolini. Like I said, Siniakova was playing with Krejcikova, and Krejcikova has two slams in singles. So how many of those doubles Grand Slams they won together were with her? When I've seen Siniakova play live at Indian Wells with Taylor Townsend, Townsend was carrying a lot. So obviously, a great player, but there's a myriad of different female doubles players that have been great over the past 5, 10 years.
Word myriad made into the podcast as was expected by me today, but that was a great breakdown of it. And obviously, yes, doubles is a team sport. So that's definitely more than fair. I feel like we've gone pretty thoroughly into just about every storyline. We'll do a quick discussion of the couple of matches that are coming up in the next day or two, and then we can hit some drop or lob. So today, I'm kind of intrigued. I will say yesterday I was really excited for the matches. I know we broke them all down. I was calling it potentially the greatest round of 16 I'd seen in the last 5 years. And then we had Zverev beating Cerundolo in straights, Bublik catching the switch at the hands of Deminor. We had, oh my God, Tommy Paul, while he played phenomenal tennis, didn't extend the match at all against Zverev. And then Daniil Medvedev just came out in a stroller and got walked right off the court by Leonard Tien by his father. Just not the results we're looking for a bunch of straight setters. So today, maybe the men's has some chance for redemption. I was really excited to see my boy Jakub Mensik play against Novak Djokovic. Unfortunately, he had to withdraw with an abdominal injury. I see you rolling your eyes. You're not a fan of that withdrawal.
No, I mean, Djokovic, this guy's so lucky.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Djokovic is so lucky. He hits a tennis ball about 1 centimeter away from the ball kid. How could you be so dumb? You literally did that to a line judge in the 2020 US Open, and he barely apologized. And in the press conference, he was like, yeah, I apologize. Like, are you out of your mind?
He is out of his
You were
mind.
so close to
Novak
being out of the
Djokovic.
tournament. Like,
All right,
it's just
real quick,
insane
real
how
quick.
lucky this guy is.
We're
He cannot win a match without some, controversy. Djokovic cannot win one clean match without a
He's the
controversy.
best player of all time. I think we can agree, and I'm a huge Nadal guy, but he's not the best person to ever play on the tour of all
He is
time.
not. And I think Sinner is following in his footsteps with the drugs and, all of this, heat and cramping. It's just like, Oh my
Alcaraz,
God, these
if
guys.
you said you could have dinner with Sinner and Djokovic or Alcaraz and Nadal, I think most people are going to go with Alcaraz and Nadal. But
Yeah.
if
Also,
you need two guys to win a tennis
wait,
match, we're probably going Sinner and
wait,
Djokovic.
real quick. I have to say this. I have to say this because you said something about greatest of all time, and I certainly don't want to get into that conversation. But the greatest tennis player that I've seen of all time
Oh
in
God.
any particular match
Oh God.
that I would pick to beat anybody else if I had one match
One match. Okay.
is Stan Wawrinka when he beat Djokovic in the French Open final. That guy
Such a
was
pretty.
treeing for his life.
Could you
Shout
explain
out Stan
treeing? Could you
Wawrinka.
explain treeing for the audience so you can use it in
Treeing
the future?
basically means slapping and hitting the crap out of the ball and not missing and being unconscious. And he beat Djokovic. That's the best tennis player I've ever seen. Shout out Wawrinka. Amazing, amazing second round match, winning that fifth set. What a legend.
Yeah, yeah.
What a legend. And personally, I think you can make an argument that Stan Wawrinka's career and longevity is better than one Andy Murray.
I think that he's going to work himself towards that. I think that he's making a great stand here as a 40-year-old. Won a set against Taylor Fritz as well. Had a beer with the announcer afterwards.
What a
That
savage.
one-hander, that one-hander as a guy that can't hit a one-handed backhand. I don't understand how he gets so much pace and power on it. It's incredible to watch. I see the people trying to replicate it in today's day and game, and they absolutely do not have that firepower behind it. One of the greatest backhands of all time will be missed. So he did lose to Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz threw against Lorenzo Musetti, two guys that really haven't been threats to win it all at any of the majors, but two guys that make it pretty deep, pretty consistently the last couple of years. Um, who do you see taking that match? I believe Lorenzo actually took the last one. It's a matchup that gives Taylor Fritz a little bit of trouble. Musetti's a guy that now has a one-hander that's quite nice, but once again, I just don't feel like it compares to Stan's. I feel like it's made more for clay, if anything. More topspin, more height. Um, but yeah, where do you see that match going?
Who? Who are we talking about?
Musetti and
They
Fritz.
both suck.
Oh God.
Doesn't matter who wins. They're going to lose the next round, but I'll take Fritz.
I'll take Musetti. I'll take Musetti. I'll be different. Then we've got another nice matchup between two guys that once again stay near the top. One of them hasn't made much noise in the majors. That'd be Casper Ruud. He made the finals of French Open a couple years ago, and he's competitive here and there for sure. Made the finals at U.S. Open as well before, obviously one of the top players in the world. He's claimed that he's going to go home if his wife goes into labor at some point. She is currently pregnant and pretty close to being due, but we're not 100% sure how serious he's being about that because she seems to support him being over there. Playing versus the monster of majors, Ben Shelton, one of only three players to make the third round in the last 10 major tournaments, with Alcaraz having lost in straight sets to Botic van de Zandschulp in the 2024 US Open. I'm going to have Ben Shelton. I just think that Ben Shelton, when it comes time for majors, turns into a different beast. I think he wants that crack at Jannik Sinner so he can lose 7-6, 6-4, 6-4. What are you looking at there in that match?
I don't really know. It's hard for me to get excited for these matchups because it's let's just get to Sinner Alcaraz or Djokovic Alcaraz already. It's hard for me to get excited for these matchups because they're gonna lose anyway. So I don't know. I guess Rude. I'll take Rude. I'll take Rude in five.
Take Ruud, and I'll
I
take
just don't
Shelton.
care.
Take Shelton in four. Take Shelton in four. So we got a couple other matchups, but you are right. At the end of the day, I do have Zverev taking out Alcaraz in the draw I made, that we made live on Twitter. But that being said, obviously that was a bold take, making you laugh. Let's get into some dropper lob. I think that Edic is pretty set in his predictions. I might be boring him at this point by not talking about the two guys that are going to win it. Just so we're on the same page, Sinner Alcaraz final, no competition, correct?
Yeah, but with the outside shot of Djokovic. That's it.
Mm.
That's the only other person that could make the final.
When we're outside, we're like on another planet outside, right?
No, I think there's a
He's not beating Yannick Sinner.
25% chance. Just because he's
Divide that
fresh.
by 10. Divide that by 10.
It went up. It went up because your boy decided to withdraw. What is up with all these people withdrawing? Okay,
Oh,
real
last one,
quick,
last one. No, no,
real
no,
quick.
no. We're
Hold on,
getting
hold on, hold
into
on,
in the
hold on, hold
dropper
on.
lob. It's in the dropper lob. Hold on. Your
Okay.
boy's got a good run of show. Let's get to the dropper lob.
Is it? Can I say something about Naomi Osaka in
It's
that?
what's in the
Okay,
dropper. Let's
okay,
let's
okay,
dropper lob.
okay.
All right, Edic, are you ready for dropper lob? I'll
I'm
toss some
ready, bro.
context.
Let's go, baby.
Edic, dropper lob. Naomi Osaka is the most extra player on the WTA tour, and she at this point is more headlines than she is threat.
That's the biggest. Oh, so I'm agreeing. So that's the biggest lob of all time. Naomi Osaka is doing anything but trying to win a Grand Slam. I mean, I don't even want to get into whether or not the outfit was cool or not, but like nobody's asking for this. Nobody's
Can we explain
claim.
the outfit real quick for people that didn't get to
The
see this?
outfit was like she dressed up basically with umbrella, and she was like a jellyfish of sorts. It was absolutely ridiculous. And nobody's asking for this. This is not the WWE. This is not the UFC where we do actually have walkouts. Okay. She is irrelevant right now. She got pregnant when she was at the height of the WTA, and now is trying to rebuild her brand. She has all this money in the bank, like at least 50 million, and she's still the most socially awkward person of all time. She says she doesn't, oh, I'm shy. I just don't like the attention. And then she decides to wear that outfit. And then she says,
Yeah.
oh, I don't care what people think. Listen, I was so happy when Sorana Cristea got mad at her for doing the come ons. Like, what are you, 5 years old? You have four Grand Slams and you're audibly saying come on in between the first and second serve. Like, shut up. What are you doing? Okay. Naomi Osaka is the most hypocritical tennis player right now. And she is not. And then she retires. She withdraws because of an abdominal injury. You cannot walk out to the first round match with that outfit and then withdraw from the match. You have to show up and play. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable.
I agree. I think we're gonna need to up our editing skills because I'd love to show the viewers what that walkout in that outfit
They've
was. It
seen it.
was
They've seen
it
it.
was it was something else. It was very what we would call like it was very extravagant. She definitely I agree with Edic. I do feel sympathy for her mental struggles. I do feel sympathy for her social awkwardness, but I will also say that she is, and I agree, the most hypocritical player on tour. She talks a lot of game of wanting to be perceived and viewed a certain way, and then she does not back it up with her actions. Not to mention that after wearing that outfit, she was down a 4-3 break in the third set to Antonia Ruzic in the first round. Almost lost that match. Would have been arguably quite embarrassing. And then yes, the second round, the controversy with the come-ons, and then withdraws pre-match before the third round with no hint of injury against Madison Inglis, the Australian qualifier, who she, in theory, should have absolutely pulverized should she have played her. Just all in all, kind of quite a scene made there. And remember, this is Naomi Osaka that was match point away from beating Iga Swiatek at the French Open last year, the year before. Naomi Osaka that's won four Grand Slam titles. But it seems that the drama just simply cannot escape her. The tears cannot escape her. And it is quite confusing as a fan to follow how she really feels about anything or what she's thinking or doing at any specific time.
Let's not give her any more airtime.
That's I would actually agree. Drop or lob. Alexander Bublik has now become overrated as a tennis player.
100% lob. 100% lob. 100%.
Why
100%.
what because Alexander Bublik for context, much like my friend that Edic would not speak of earlier, Nick Kyrgios, known majority of his career for his showmanship, for being flashy, for being an entertainer and a performer, lots of drop shots, underhand serves, hitting overheads with the handle of his racket, known to be a top 10 talent that just didn't put in the effort. Recently locked in. He's won five or six titles at the like 100, 250, 500 level. I think he might have even grabbed a 1000 in the last year or two. He's risen up to number 11 in the world.
10.
Obviously,
He's top
very
10. He's top 10.
top 10 in the world even after this tournament. But I really just didn't see him as much of a threat to take out Alex de Minaur. He got bludgeoned by Yannick Sinner like 1-1-1 last major when he was supposed to make a run. Gets bludgeoned again by de Minaur 6-4, 6-1, 6-1 in this one. Seems like I don't know if it's a fitness, a focus issue, if it's just genuinely not quite having that last level of talent that he needs. But he just isn't showing up right when he needs to show what makes him a top 10 player. I'd say guys like Tommy Paul that we had mentioned before put on a much better show and a much better fight when they make it deeper into these major rounds. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He's
I don't,
overrated. As soon as he made the top 10, he became overrated. It's sort of a weird
yeah.
contradiction, but
It happens often with players. It does happen often with players that they get to a point where they're not putting in the effort, and then as people rise, I mean, obviously people just get behind the talent. They see you winning, and they just think the sky's the limit. But at the end of the day, the sky's name is Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, and it limits everybody else to well below the clouds because they're not fucking touching that. Drop or lob, all four majors this year go to Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner.
lob.
any any sort of doubt, assuming no injuries.
Assuming no injuries, no doubt. No doubt. And I'd like to see it. It's better for the game.
Drop or lob, the WTA top 10 is now more stacked than the ATP top 10.
Another biggest lob of all time. I mean, I've been telling you this. The WTA is where it's at. I would actually say that other than Djokovic, Sinner, and Alcaraz, all the players in the top 10 are super overrated. And here's the thing. We were talking about this last week with Songa and Muradoglu, and how Muradoglu was saying the guys from like 5 to 20 are way better now than they were in 2016. He couldn't be more wrong. And as evidence of that would be the fact that Cilic, who was in that range in 2016, is way out of his prime, 37 years old.
And
Stan absolutely smashed Shapovalov, who is in that range, and Stan, beat a young gun. Okay, so
and he
no,
came close to Taylor Fritz, by the way.
and he
Like
came close.
that was competitive
This
match.
generation of men's tennis sucks, and it's boring. Other than Carlos and Sinner and Djokovic, the WTA is way better, and I'm about done. I'm about done.
I that's
Any
that's
other
all I had. That's all I
any
had
other
for you on Drop or
questions?
Lob. I will toss my own take out. I do think that the WTA top 10 is much stronger. WTA's honestly usually been the place for variety, the place for upsets. Like Tatana Maria, slice queen specialist, like 36 years old in the Wimbledon semifinals a couple years ago. Like we got players that you'd never expect making it far, unseeded players in WTA going deep. And I mean, right now, all the players we mentioned, Maddie Keys, Jess Pegula, Amanda Anisimova, Coco Gauff representing America. We've got Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina, Arina Sabalenka, Elena Svitolina. I'm sorry because Etiquette hates
Killing.
it, but my girl Andreeva is still quite a solid player. We've got we've got people in the top 10 that you expect to be making it deep into majors. You expect them in the top eight. You expect them to fill out the quarterfinals, and they're doing so on a consistent basis. Top 10 is better
Yep.
on the WTA side than it is on the ATP side right now. And it's not been the case for the past however long. It's definitely a change, but it's enjoyable to see on both ends. I do also kind of prefer that, and I'd probably lean WTA as a product, although as we saw with the Battle of the Sexes, an ATP player is still going to smash a WTA player should it come to it. But that's why they play in their own separate leagues. They're both great products, and I enjoy both of them in their own respects. And with that being said, any closing remarks, Edek? I feel like you've given us a lot today, plenty more than we need to make some interesting
Thanks,
clips, some
guys. Thanks
interesting
for listening.
conversation.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up to another episode of Drop Lob Pod. You guys will see us this full episode out probably around 8 p.m. today. And shout out to the major champions Sabalenka and Sinner. We'll be talking about them next week.
Peace.